signs that may have led up to the actions of that suspected LAX shooter, Paul Ciancia. Well, investigators say he had no history of mental illness, and Ciancia's family didn't even know he owned a gun. So what might have happened? Former FBI agent Tim Clemente joining us now. Of course, good to see you, Tim.
Thanks for having me, Frederica.
So many pieces are now being put together to figure out, were there any signs leading up to what happened? And if so, what should have been noticed? What should have been taken note? So as the FBI gets involved in this investigation, what are some of the things that they're going to be looking into?
Well, obviously, they're going to, besides collecting all the physical evidence and trying to build a federal case against Ciancia, they're going to be looking at his mental status and what his associations were. Is this, is he part of an organization that may have led him to do this? It doesn't appear that way. It appears like he's a lone gunman, probably mission-oriented in nature, which means that he's on a task and he believes that he's doing something to either rid society of some ill or correct some, misdeed that was done to him. Typically, these mass shooters are in the age range that he fits right in, late teens into their 20s, which is a period of time where a lot of personality disorders can exhibit themselves. And he may have not exhibited anything prior, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't have a mental illness that he's suffering from.
And even our own Chris Lawrence talked to people who knew and know him, and they say that his behavior seemed normal. He was at a wedding. He has seemed social recently. The only thing that seemed to be alarming was in recent times, and we don't know if that's days or weeks or months, he did text a little brother some sort of disturbing message. We don't know what that message is publicly, but how might FBI members or federal law enforcement agents try to extrapolate that kind of information, whether there were any kind of signs that someone else could have put together to prevent something like this from happening?
Well, I think we have to look at what are his associations. I mean, I don't know how close he is to the roommates he had there in Los Angeles. Apparently, he's somewhat disconnected from his family just by distance, if nothing else. And I did read about that text that he sent to his brother, which may have exhibited some suicidal ideations in it. And, he was apparently distressed by society, by culture. He didn't like the Los Angeles area. So there's a lot of things that maybe he had no outlet for this. Maybe he had no one that he felt he can talk to and felt separated from his family. And if there was some kind of a mental disorder, it just caused him to further and further build up these injustices. These are commonly referred to as injustice collectors. Somebody like James Holmes in Colorado, where he feels he was personally slighted in some way. His mission in this case, Ciancia, is the TSA, going through the terminal and literally asking, "Are you TSA?"
Yeah.
The individual that said no, he moved past them and looked for another TSA individual. So, I mean, the fact that he sent these texts, or these are things that the FBI is going to dig into further and further and look at this guy's life and see, unturn every piece of evidence that can lead to what, not necessarily a motive, because the motive may be a TSA agent took his nail clippers 6 months ago. So we're not looking for a typical motive where, somebody assaulted my wife and I'm going to go after them in vengeance. This is a man that probably has a personality disorder that is exhibiting itself now in this mass shooting.